Andrius, you have something really important that is another part of your life, and I know firsthand you're really good at this. But I think it started, at least the story you told me. I don't know. It may be you might go from a different area, but you won an award. And before I get to the award, you told me a story. Like I said, how do you get into this? How'd you come to this? And you told me about a guy who called your radio station when you used to work on it. You used to work at a radio station. I don't know how old were you when you got there, but it was for a handful of years. Um, and
25, 26. Yeah.
there's a certain gentleman, and I don't know if you can talk about this because hopefully the gentleman's
Yeah.
still out there and listen. But what can you? You know where I'm going with this. I'm going to hand it over to
Yeah.
you if you don't mind.
Yeah. I had this program on the radio that was called Voices of the Night. And I used to sit at the radio station from midnight till 3 o'clock in the morning. There was, and uh, there were people calling, and I would just plug their phone into the air, and they would say whatever they want to say, and I would maybe talk a little. That was 92, 94. It was the beginning of independent radio of Lithuania. So there was one night when this guy called and he said, I'm going to talk now, and then I'm going to commit suicide. And I only knew one thing. I knew that you have to be with the person who wants to do that. You just talk as long as possible. Listen, mostly listen to them. Do not give any advice. Just listen. Just make person let it out. And we spoke. I guess like maybe 90 minutes on air, and the telephones were ringing, and then he, like everybody was at the radio station. I saw behind the studio window. I saw people like
They're saying cut it
they
off.
didn't.
Oh,
Yeah, they didn't know what to do. How we react. But somehow I knew that you just well we talked whatever. I just tried to ask him any question, so he just talks, and then he hung up, and I didn't know what happened to him. And then maybe in 5 weeks, he called me once again at night. He said, "Thank you for that conversation. It kind of, yeah, I'm here." And then no, a few years ago, I got a letter from him. He said, "Remember, we talked on the radio 20 years ago, so I'm still alive. I'm here." So it kind of led me to this idea that some like Lithuania has the one of the biggest suicide rates in the world. We for many years we've been number one in suicide rates in the world. So this is a big topic in our country. And I remember this that I was able to help, even not I'm not a professional, but I knew one thing, that you have to listen. And 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 usually the moment when person might commit suicide, there might be few minutes when the person is on the edge, and if you help them go through those minutes, they might change their mind. So I talked to this guy who was he was um, a head of uh, uh, telephone line that you can call, and like psychological emotional help. How you call it?
resource.
Like
Yeah, help resource.
yeah, like where you can, if you feel bad, if you feel,
Mm-hmm.
if you have problems, you call, and then there's someone talks to you. So
Mm-hmm.
he was a chief of that. It's called Youth Line. It was mostly for young people. So I talked to him. I told him this story, that sometimes people can help each other if we educate them. If
Mm-hmm.
we educate them simple principles of how to help someone who shows the signs of that they want to commit a suicide. And we started this initiative that was called "Do Not Afraid to Talk."
Mm-hmm.
And first we made these like a postcards with simple advices that and if you use them, you might be able to just to help someone. So then like there it would there was written something like do not afraid to say out loud the word suicide, because people sometimes they just afraid to say this word because they think if they say this word out loud that then it will like motivate someone to commit a suicide, which is opposite. Because usually when person wants to kill themselves, they would say I want to disappear, I want to sleep and never wake up, I want to go out, or they hide behind these more poetical words. And then you ask the person, are you talking about committing a suicide? And then they start to realize what they really want to do. They want to kill themselves. And then uh, the other advice would be like help person to talk it out. Just you don't have to give any advice. You're probably not able to give any advice, but
Mm.
help person to say it out. What the um, what's painful, where the pain comes from. Let them talk it out, and then and don't belittle their problems. Don't say something like it's going to be all right. It's just you just listen. Do not try to tell. Do not to try them to talk them out of it. Just mostly listen, uh, then because when they let it out, they feel better, and then they start to think maybe they know the solution to their problem. And uh, and of course then try to ask why they're still alive, what motivates them still trying to live, so they remember why they want to live. There was this we did this postcard with all these with sentences like that, and I was spreading them during my concerts. I had a tour that year, that was 2009. And but then we decided that we have to go to meet people. And then we were for about 6 years, we were time after time, once or twice a month, we would go to different Lithuanian cities with the biggest suicide rates, and we would make like a free entry. Anyone could come, and we would discuss this topic. So people would write the questions, and we would answer them and talk about this. So this was kind of then from this there are more same initiatives started all over the Lithuania. And now we have like a couple of places that were number one in suicide rate. They are not number one anymore. So
So it's really
it was
having a
just
significant
Wow.
impact then.
Good for you.
it had it's a the to solve this problem. There should be like very complex uh, complex decisions that should make. People should
Yeah.
be able to get the help. They should know where to get the help. Like all the like policemen or medical or medics or paramedics or firemen. They should be educated how to deal with a person if person wants to commit the suicide. So this was all new to us.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of really, I don't know. I was just motivated probably by that guy who called me at the
Yeah.
radio station, because it kind of made me realize that it's possible to help. So this is why we did it.
Well, you are helping people. I want to share something, guys. This is pretty impressive. So let me see if I can figure out how to do this. All you guys are in the corner. Let's see. So let me translate this to English. I don't know if I can.
I don't think you can.
I did it earlier. It's just not well
Maybe
written.
Andrews can
Yeah, Andres, why
translate
don't
it.
you?
Yeah,
I read it.
yeah, it says that European Medical Organization presented me this award for the project that we did. So I only wished that my father was still alive, because he was a doctor. He always wanted me to be a doctor, and then after he died, this thing happened to me, and there was all his colleagues in that place, and everybody remembered him, and I thought, he would be very proud, seeing me getting this award from European Medics Organization. But well,
so you're the first non-medical, person to ever receive this award. So everyone else is like a doctor or some scholar or something.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's all the more impressive. Lithuania is not as far north as Norway and Sweden and Finland, and yet it has a higher suicide rate than those countries, which I assume, I don't know this, but I think their suicide rates are pretty high in those countries.
But yeah, and
the climate has something to do with it, but not entirely, is what I'm getting at.
Well, just talking openly about it and
hi, Andrius. Welcome back.
Oh, hi.
Welcome back. Yeah.
It's not the climate, it's
not at all.
There are many, of course, there's some cultural thing, but the ability to get help and maybe more introverted culture. Usually there's bigger suicide rate in the cultures that are introverted, where people are not expressing their emotions to the others, do not share their emotions, and because that's where emotions become suppressed, and they're trying to keep things to themselves, and why usually there's more men that commit suicide than women, because
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Because boys don't cry. They teach us boys don't cry. Boys don't express their emotions. This is why they have more suppressed emotions. And in Scandinavian countries, there are also very big pressure on men, and it's just like there are many reasons. It
can't be any one thing.
There are poor people who commit suicide. There are very wealthy people who commit suicide. There are lonely people. There are people who have big families. It's usually the person has the pain that they don't know how to deal with, and maybe they don't get help, or they don't ask for help, and then suicide is not when somebody wants to die. They just don't know how to live with the pain that they have inside, and this is where the help comes, to help you get out of this kind of loop that you are in, or loop of your emotions and all the traumas that you have.
You brought up a really
something that wasn't expressed, something that hasn't dealt with.
You just brought up a point that I think we were talking the other day, and I brought up that I think I see that there's like at least four different types of suicide, but I'm wondering if what you just said sums up all the four. I'll kind of give it what I was thinking. It's just my idea. I have no background in this, of course, but there's the type that, they've experienced some loss, loss of job, a loved one, in any respect. Then there's some who are, they don't want to face the conviction of some crime, the police are, and this is, I know this has happened. I have a couple friends, personally, who have experienced it at different ends. Police are coming, knocking on their door, and they commit suicide then. And then there's other type that just drink themselves to death. They didn't do it intentionally. They didn't try. They didn't say, I want to die, but I want to drink. And then there's this other type, where it's the brain just, there's, it's like as a side effect to a drug, and I brought up medicine I was taking, but also there's LSD where somebody, may have a bad trip, and then,
audio edit,
all this terminology. But my thought is all of those do kind of come down to, it's not that they want to die, it's just they don't know how to live. And I never thought of it that way. So that's really neat.
I was just wondering, Andrius, if there's a connection between suicide rates and homelessness. And the reason what triggered me was what Jeff said was, a lot of times bad stuff happens, loss, particularly, and I've talked to a lot of people about what causes people to become homeless, and it's often loss of family, loss of job, some kind of loss that was just catastrophic, and they couldn't deal with it, and so they,
Yeah,
you
but
know, they became homeless. And I'm just wondering if that's connected to this idea of suicide as well. Obviously, a lot of homeless people commit suicide.
the thing is, when somebody commits the suicide, usually people are asked these questions like why a person did that, and then someone says, well, you lost a job, and everybody's like, oh yeah, yeah, we all commit suicides when we lost a job. There is
I
no
hope
there
not.
is no there is no one reason. There is
Right.
no, or like his girlfriend left him. This is why, and everybody kind of accepts that. Yeah, yeah, sure, we understand now. His girlfriend left him, and he
It's not that simple.
decided to kill himself. It's not that simple. Usually the mechanism is, something happened when you were a child, then something happened later, and it's kind of, it builds up until the moment when you kind of, it's just little thing happens, and this all building falls apart. But the bricks were taken out, like, like Jenga is this game called
Yeah.
Jenga.
Yes, the
When
Jenga.
we take the brick, it's a best example actually. Imagine the Jenga, and you take one brick, like someone stole his money, then the other brick, some there was some disease, there's some other brick, you take out one more brick, there's some relative died, somebody left him, and then you have this very unstable structure, which is psychological and emotional uh, funda like a base of that person, and when there's so many things happen, it wasn't dealt with them. They all kind of there. There's this little thing that somebody like stole your money, and then you kind of you see that that's it. It all falls down, But it's
Yeah,
because of all the things before that happened to you.
I
I'm
understand.
just wondering if you mentioned the Jenga tower. I'm guessing that there are literally millions of people out there that are living, that are at that place. Their Jenga towers are very unstable, and
So many.
something could happen in their lives that could just take a bad turn. So I'm wondering, are we reaching out? How can you measure even? But is there a program to reach out to people like that who are already on the verge? They haven't done it. I obviously haven't done it yet, but
Yeah, when you have when there is a help, when there's help available, and people know that they can call this telephone line, or they can go to the therapist. It's all, probably it's all about educating people where they can get help, and because some people not only don't know where to get help, some people don't know that there's a help available for such situations. So it's educating about the help that you can get. It's one of the most important things. So when somebody's not well, feeling bad, have suicidal thoughts, they someone might remind them that maybe you should call, or you should visit a therapist, or maybe we could just talk. Sometimes simple conversation can make a miracles. Is that you have to really listen to that person. That is
So I like that we are going to put before this video, and if we break it up into pieces, and also the last one we were talking about this before, a little bit of a like, I don't know what, a resource hotline or something, someplace to call for anyone before we listen to it. And I think YouTube puts those up if they detect the conversations and about this sort of thing. But
yeah.
YouTube, even you had said that even mentioning the word suicide, people are afraid that's somewhere we shouldn't go, and you're saying that we should, because YouTube has a policy like you can't. They're very nervous. And I understand this. They don't want to be responsible for suicides following from shows and coming from these discussions. But you were saying that you think that maybe let's just talk about the elephant in the room. You know, what's the problem? Is suicide, or is it we beating around the bush about it? You know, and I kind of agree. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. If the guy, you know, if my friend or somebody has a problem with this, it makes no sense to talk about anything else. That's the crisis. And if I leave the room and try to blow it off or be superficial, that crisis remains in that person.
A lot of people can't afford to go to a psychiatrist.
There's so
Yeah,
many-
sometimes you cannot afford, but yeah, it's not. And you know, sometimes person commits suicide when they get all the help possible, all the
Yeah.
possible help, they still do it. You know, it's not a simple topic. But I can only say that, you know, we should always try. You know, if you see someone who is suicidal, ask them, are you thinking about a suicide? Why? Tell me your story. Tell me what hurts, and then really listen. I mean, or you know, sometimes you know that person is far away, and you cannot talk to them, but you know that if something happened, then you call their relatives or friends and ask them, maybe they can contact that person and to check on them.
Mhm.
It's all usually, you know, it's sometimes we don't pay attention, and then we realize when time has passed that we maybe we had to check on them.
Yeah, that was.
I have a
Well,
couple.
I think open dialogue and trying to destigmatize it, because it's such a controversial
Yeah, and
subject. I
the
think
more
just
the
talking
more
about it, normalizing it, will
yeah,
absolutely help people, because the
yeah.
people suppress the heck out of it. A lot of people, you have no idea that they're even sad, and then boom.
Yeah, I don't know. I found it shocking that the theme song to MASH was, "And suicide is painless. It brings on many changes, and I can take or leave it if I please." And I
didn't know those lyrics.
yeah, I found those lyrics shocking,
It's from a
and they
TV show.
played it. They played it at the beginning of every show like it was no big deal, and yet that was what the lyrics actually were. And I don't know.
Wow, I never knew that about
I just
the show.
I thought that was strange. But I guess my question to you, Andrius, is what about people who have already committed suicide? You know, it affects everyone around them, affects their family and people that they worked with. And is there any kind of support for people like that? I'm saying this because my son's best friend, when he was little, they weren't best friends at the time, but you know, when they were in junior high, they do everything together. And then they kind of moved apart, as you know, kids do. And when he was 18, his name was Kelton. He committed suicide. And so I try to support the parents. They live just a couple blocks away from here. And I don't know. I'm wondering, what can I do? You know, I just try to be there to support him. I didn't know him that well, but they had a birthday party for him and things like that.
They're probably already in some kind of group therapy.
Probably. I mean, this is years ago now. Tommy's now 25, so that was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
It's usually, yeah, these people who are relatives and close people, friends of the one who committed suicide, most of the times that they feel isolated because everybody kind of avoids the topic. Maybe people think that this will be too painful for them to talk about, and they feel isolated and ignored, and I don't know.
There has to be a lot of tremendous guilt, even perceived, like what could I have done? So I can't even fathom that. That has to be intense. That's why I would recommend anybody that to get help with that, because I would
definitely they definitely need therapy, definitely, but also some support from their friends, you know, from someone who's close to them also. I don't know if there's a right way, you know, to start a conversation about it.
Yeah,
but
I'm wondering that myself.
Yeah, how do you do
yeah.
that?
I know someone that I haven't brought it up. His son committed
you
suicide.
can, you know, you can always ask how do you feel, you know, how do you feel? That's
And I
important.
would be willing to say that anybody, even listening or has known someone, or it's very prevalent. And as I alluded to while you dropped off for technical reasons, Andrews, I'm a military veteran, Coast Guard, and that's a huge population in the U.S. Every 22 uh, every hour, 22 people that are veterans commit suicide in the U.S. Even with alcoholism, some people just quit and they're fine with that. Other people absolutely need help with it. And I would assume there's many layers to suicidal thoughts as well, that it's not bucketed.
John, you and Andrews have something in common. One day you never, if I may, you just never went to alcohol again. Never took another drink. Both of you, I think. Is that? If am I bringing it up? I can edit out if you don't want to go there.
Yeah,
But
I don't
both
mind
you guys just
discussing.
stopped on your own. You just for no reason, like, or maybe there's a reason, but just like I don't want to do this anymore. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I was 41 and I just put in my mind that it was boring and predictable. I knew it wasn't healthy, so I made the decision to stop. And I did
Good for you.
quite a bit of drinking in the past, but that was I wanted longevity and quality of life for the immediate and long term. That's
Yeah,
my
that was, for me, it's 30 years ago. I was 26 at the time. I just thought I I don't like myself being drunk. I like myself being sober, and the best work that I ever done was sober, with sober mind. And then I decided I just don't need it. And I wasn't like a big drinker. There were some moments, of course, but but I started to use alcohol quite late, and I probably didn't get used to it too much, so it was maybe easier for me to quit.
Mm.
Statistically, there's a very big percentage of that alcohol was involved when person committed a suicide, even if person is not alcoholic, but even if not regular user, but there's in most cases there is alcohol involved. Person got
that
a
makes
drink, had a drink.
absolutely
That
makes
makes
Person
sense
had a
because
drink before doing it.
the drug alcohol is a depressant, right?
Yes,
So
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes you feel
Naturally.
even more.
Yeah, and it kind of strengthens your emotions, and if the emotions are negative, it kind of they just grow, with alcohol.
Yeah. I don't know, John, maybe you know more about this with the veterans too. But I definitely know this with a couple people who, I don't know, they had something bad with their childhood, really bad, and they're just like, I'm drinking so that I don't need to think. And it goes on and on and on, but that depression, that memory is wanting to, I don't know, that you can't ignore that hole in the Jenga tower. It's wanting to fall over, and you're drinking, you're just chipping away at it more, and so, and then you're sober, and the person I'm speaking with, I'm not going to bring up names. They wake up in the morning, they're sober, and crap, I had that dream again. Grab the beer, and they're grabbing it in the morning, and then they're grabbing it in the afternoon, and before you know it, it's all day long. And then even if they're not intentionally trying to take their own life, they're taking it slowly with the alcohol, and the end result is the same. So, but I don't know how. I mean, I don't know I don't really have any solution. I'm just kind of talking, you know what I mean? But it seems like that these things affect all of those around you. It's like when one Jenga tower is about ready to fall, it knocks over some chips out of somebody else. Because then now my loved one has, because I was thinking about what you're saying, that's what I'm kind of thinking about it, is, my son, and he's not well. And at the time, I knew my friend wasn't doing well, but gotta choose. I can only be in two places, and yes, he's just down the street. And the time when finally his brother called me, it was a month. I didn't realize it was a month since I've been there to visit him.
I have never had suicide thoughts, so I have no idea, nor can I fathom, but I can empathize. But to I can't even put myself in those shoes. I do know there has to be profound pain. There has to be some, because this is a huge undergoing to even think it, let alone do it. But it's just that's just why it's a taboo subject.
Yeah.
But I do think the key is just let's try to make it not taboo. If you think somebody's in it, just talk and just don't give advice. You're not qualified, but just merely talking through it, as Andrius did that person on the radio many years ago, I think is a healthy way to approach it.
Yeah.
Do you have?
No, we usually we know to cure something, we have to know about it.
Yeah.
Like we know everything almost. You can find all the information about the flu, for example, yeah, and there's ways to cure it, you know. So the same as the suicide. The more we know about it, what kind of mechanism is, then we can point the ways to also to get help. The more educated we are about it.
Yeah, you can do everything right, advice-wise, or with the flu, and still get the flu. So in some cases, no matter what you do, you get the flu. Same thing, probably with suicide. There's people they've done everything possible.
Yeah.
Go on, Andrius. I want to hear what you're saying.
Yeah, but you should still try. You know,
100%.
Even if sometimes it might not work, but it's up to you to try it.
Do you have an online resource? This initiative, is this still going? I mean, do you have something somewhere?
Let me see.
And Jeff, there's definitely a VA resource that if you Google it, they'll have a hotline, and these are for anybody can call it, that even if you're not registered in the Veterans Association
All right, go ahead
Administration.
and send that to me, and we'll make sure that it's over the top of the video, overlaid over this section. All right, let's do that post. All right.
Will do.
Hey, if you like these kind of conversations and you'd like to see more, click like and subscribe to our channel. And if you're at the computer and you'd like to hear the whole podcast, click right here.